Found footage is one of those genres where the best movies aren't always the ones people talk about the most. Everybody knows the Blair Witch Project, REC, or Hell House LLC, but every now and then you stumble across something that somehow slipped through the cracks. That's exactly what happened when I sat down to watch The Conspiracy from 2012. At first, this movie doesn't even feel like horror. It feels more like a documentary about conspiracy theorists. Two filmmakers decide to follow a man who spends his days shouting about secret governments, hidden organizations, and people pulling the strings behind world events. For the first half of the movie, it almost feels like you're watching a real documentary somebody uploaded to YouTube 15 years ago. But the deeper it goes, the stranger it gets. Today, I'll be talking about The Conspiracy, giving my spoiler-free thoughts first, and then diving into the entire movie. So if you haven't seen it and want to go in blind, now's your chance. What surprised me most about The Conspiracy is how believable it feels. A lot of found footage movies immediately start throwing ghosts, demons, or monsters at you. This one takes its time. The filmmakers follow a conspiracy theorist named Terrence, who believes powerful groups secretly influence world events. Whether you agree with him or not isn't really the point. The movie does a good job making him feel like a real person, rather than some cartoon character screaming nonsense. The documentary format works incredibly well here. The interviews feel natural, the conversations feel unscripted, and the performances are convincing enough that there were multiple moments where I forgot I was watching a fictional film. That's one of the biggest compliments I can give a found footage movie. The pacing is definitely a slow burn. If you're expecting non-stop horror, this isn't that kind of movie. It's more about building paranoia. Every new piece of information pulls the characters deeper into something they probably should have left alone. Then, the final act arrives. Without spoiling anything, the last 20 minutes completely change the tone of the movie. What starts as an investigation eventually turns into something much darker, and it features some genuinely memorable imagery that stuck with me after the credits rolled. My biggest criticism is the ending. I think the movie had an opportunity to go even darker than it did. The ending works, but I personally would have preferred something a little more brutal and definitive. Still, this is one of the better, lesser-known found footage films I've seen. Now let's get into spoilers. The movie starts with two documentary filmmakers, Aaron and Jim, who become interested in a conspiracy theorist named Terrence. Terrence is exactly the type of guy most people would immediately dismiss. His apartment is covered in newspapers. His walls are packed with notes. He spends his free time speaking through a megaphone in public, warning people about hidden powers controlling society. But here's where the movie gets clever. Instead of making Terrence seem insane, it presents him as surprisingly reasonable. Sure, some of his claims sound extreme, but he's not screaming about aliens or lizard people. Most of what he talks about revolves around governments, corporations, surveillance, and influence. Things that aren't completely outside the realm of possibility. That ambiguity is what makes the first half so effective. As Aaron and Jim interview more people, they discover an entire online community built around these ideas. Everyone has their own theories about who is really in control. Some blame secret societies. Others point fingers at intelligence agencies or wealthy families. Nobody agrees on everything, but everybody believes something is happening behind the scenes. The filmmakers approach the subject with skepticism, but Aaron in particular becomes fascinated by it all. Then, Terrence disappears. This is where the movie hooks you. One day, nobody can get in contact with him. His online presence vanishes. His apartment has been emptied out. Everything that connected him to the outside world is simply gone. The film never gives you a clear answer. Did he leave voluntarily? Did he suffer a mental breakdown? Or was somebody actually watching him? The uncertainty creates an incredible sense of paranoia. From this point onward, Aaron starts obsessing over Terrence's research. He studies the notes left behind and begins connecting pieces that he believes lead to something called the Tarsus Club. The Tarsus Club is essentially the movie's version of every elite secret society conspiracy rolled into one. According to the theories surrounding it, world leaders, influential businessmen, and powerful figures gather in secret before major historical events occur. Nobody knows exactly what happens during these meetings, but the implication is that decisions affecting millions of people are made behind closed doors. The movie never outright confirms any of this. It simply presents enough information to make you wonder. And that's what makes the investigation so engaging. Aaron isn't chasing a ghost, he's chasing an idea. The deeper he digs, the more consumed he becomes. Meanwhile, Jim serves as the audience surrogate. He's skeptical, practical, and increasingly concerned that Aaron is losing himself in the investigation. Their dynamic works because both viewpoints make sense. Aaron thinks he's uncovering the truth. Jim thinks they're spiraling into paranoia. The movie does a great job keeping you somewhere in the middle. Then things begin escalating. Aaron notices people following them. His apartment gets broken into. Strangers contact him online. People seem to know things they shouldn't know. Every new development pushes the story further away from documentary territory and deeper into thriller territory. One thing I really liked is how natural the progression feels. Nothing happens overnight. Aaron doesn't suddenly become a fanatic. It happens gradually. Every clue feels small on its own, but together, they slowly pull him into a rabbit hole he can't escape. Eventually, they make contact with a journalist named Mark Tucker, who claims to know more about the Tarsus Club than most people. Mark explains that the organization operates behind a carefully crafted public image. The little information available online exists for a reason. According to him, it's better for the group to control the narrative than allow people to imagine something even worse. That's honestly one of the smartest ideas in the entire movie. Because real secretive organizations often work exactly like that. Not by hiding everything, by controlling what people are allowed to see. Through Mark, Aaron and Jim learn about a private gathering connected to the club. With help from an insider, they develop a plan to infiltrate it. And this is where the movie reaches another level. The entire infiltration sequence is fantastic. The atmosphere changes immediately. Up until this point, most of the film takes place in apartments, offices, cafes, and interviews. Suddenly, we're out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by forests and secrecy. When they finally arrive at the gathering, everything feels wrong. The building is enormous, the guests are wealthy, the conversations are cryptic, nobody explains anything. Aaron and Jim spend most of their time pretending they belong there, while desperately trying not to draw attention to themselves. The movie doesn't rely on jump scares. Instead, it creates anxiety through uncertainty. At any moment, it feels like someone could expose them. Then, the ritual begins. This is easily my favorite part of the movie. The crowd gathers outside. Torches illuminate the darkness. Masked figures emerge from the woods. A mysterious leader, dressed differently from the others, addresses the gathering, while strange sounds echo through the night. The imagery here is incredible. Whether you believe in conspiracy theories or not doesn't matter anymore. At this point, the movie has transformed into a full-blown nightmare. The ritual centers around a symbolic hunt connected to Mithras, an ancient figure associated with a bull sacrifice. New initiates are brought into the ceremony without fully understanding what's happening. Neither do Aaron and Jim, and neither do we. That's what makes it scary. The audience is just as lost as the characters. Then comes the moment that completely sold me on the film. Aaron discovers that he has been given a bull mask. The realization hits almost instantly. Everybody else is the hunter. He's the prey. It's such a simple reveal, but it's incredibly effective. The second those horns appear, you know exactly where things are heading. What follows is the most intense sequence in the movie. Aaron is chased through the forest as dozens of masked figures pursue him through the darkness. The found footage style works perfectly here because everything feels chaotic and disorienting. You don't always know where he is. You don't know who's chasing him. You don't know who's waiting ahead. All you know is that he's terrified. Eventually, Aaron finds what seems like safety. Of course it isn't. He's surrounded, attacked, and stabbed repeatedly. For a brief moment, it genuinely feels like the movie is about to end in the darkest way possible. But then comes the twist. Aaron survives. The stabbing was staged as part of the ritual. Instead of being murdered, he was psychologically broken. This is where I have mixed feelings. On one hand, the scene is effective because it's horrifying in its own way. Being hunted through a forest and convinced you're about to die would traumatize almost anybody. On the other hand, I think the movie missed an opportunity. Personally, I would have preferred if they committed fully to the darkness they spent the entire film building toward. Still, the movie salvages things with its final mystery. Aaron disappears afterward. Jim never sees him again, just like Terrence before him. And suddenly, the entire story comes full circle. Was Aaron silenced? Did he choose to disappear? Did the Tarsus Club finally get what it wanted? The movie refuses to answer those questions. And honestly, that's probably why people still talk about it today. The Conspiracy isn't the scariest found footage movie ever made, but it's one of the most believable. It takes a premise that sounds ridiculous on paper and presents it in a way that feels uncomfortably plausible. By the time the ritual sequence arrives, you're so invested in the mystery that the movie has already won. For me, it's an easy 8 out of 10. The ending could have gone harder, but the atmosphere, performances, and final act more than make up for it. And if you're looking for a lesser-known found footage movie that deserves more attention, The Conspiracy is absolutely worth checking out.